things that really irritated me was what she did to Lisa Bluter last year. Lisa Bluter says rebounding is like getting in a barroom fight, and somehow Don Staley turns that into Lisa Bluter's being racist. And she did that, and there's no defending it, there's no rationalizing. That's what she did to Lisa Bluter. She hopped into that BYU deal, refused to play a game at BYU, smeared those BYU kids and the University of BYU for no reason other than she could. It was all racial pandering. That was all last year. This year, she has gone out of her way to appear more classy. The fight with LSU, or the scrum, it wasn't really a fight, but she apologized for it on court, and people like that. Yesterday, she praised Caitlin Clark.
Well, it means that we have quietly have done things, in my opinion, the right way. You know, we find the right pieces to help us. We really do things the right way. We're very disciplined in how we approach basketball. I am one that I'm forever indebted to basketball, so I'm always going to take care of it. I'm always going to make sure that our players are respectful. I'm always going to make sure that they know the history of our game. I want to make sure they are always respectful to our opponents. And when you do it that way, in return, you have success. You have success in the wins column and very little, disappointment in the loss column. And I don't think that's talked about enough, what we've been able to do, and I don't know why. And I really don't care why. We're going to keep doing what we're doing the right way, whether we are the popular or unpopular successful programs in the country. So we're going to keep doing that way.
I hear that as a shot at Angel Reese and Kim Mulkey. Mm-hmm. We're doing things the right way. She's trying, and I hear, we'll play some of these faith-based comments as well. This is a recruiting battle, and there's an image makeover that's going on with Don Staley. I believe a lot of the media and social media influencers are in on it and are a part of it. I think this is all calculated to position Don Staley in a certain way, and Don Staley's going out of her way to hit key talking points that allow her to be portrayed in a way that she was not being portrayed at, because she's. I don't know why people don't see that. Well, they don't see it because you spend a lot of your time looking to smear white people unfairly any chance you get. And so people don't see you winning things the right way. You were in the way of that. And again, this is where I go, like, if you're going to talk about your newly discovered faith, or your newly rekindled faith, or you're just now exposing your long-held faith, at some point, you will start talking about, here are the stupid things I did that were in the way of my faith and the way of people seeing me properly. And so there's a lot, and I hate, because again, I'm so unrighteous. I don't want anybody to think that I'm portraying myself as righteous and or the way. I'm just going to tell you what my rekindled faith has made me do, has made me examine myself and all the stupid and dumb things that I've done and still want to do. It's a daily battle. And that's what I would like to hear from Don Staley more so than, I'm a victim and people just portray me unfairly for no reason. Nah, Whitlock, there was a bunch of things that you were doing that allowed people to portray you unfairly.
Or fairly.
Or fairly, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think I agree with most of what you said there. What I would say is, does she have a single white player on her team?
Yes. One of them started.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if she was.
That's definitely a white girl. The tall white girl?
Yeah.
I ain't talking about Pow Pow or the tall white girl. Yeah, I saw.
All right, so we'll say
mom and dad. Yeah.
1 out of 18 or whatever it is.
Nah, I think she's got a white girl on the bench or two, but go ahead.
Not her primary target. It's no different than these Nick Saban types who got to do these BLM marches. These coaches have to do this racial idolatry nonsense in order to recruit. So if it's a recruiting tactic, you don't back off of the being critical of white people. You turn up the gas. And so, I mean, this is November of this year. They did a independent review on the referees and their margins in the LSU-Iowa national championship game. And she tweets about it. So this is 4 months ago, and says, okay, there was an independent review done under anonymity, but we do know who the officials are. All black and brown skinned women. Now that they're thrown under the bus, let's not run them over. So what she's saying is, hey, leave them alone, they're black. This was just a couple months ago.
So they reviewed the officials.
From last national championship game, but it came out this November. They did an independent review on like, hey, they kind of screwed up a lot of these calls.
Yes.
And it was all black women. And so Dawn Staley tweets out and says, okay, so the person who did the review gets to be unanimous, but we know who these women, the officials were. They were all black and brown women. So they've been thrown under the bus, let's not run them over. All she's saying is, leave them alone, they're black.
You just triggered in my mind the other thing she's done. And I know there are people in the audience like, hold up, Whitlock, hold up, you're forgetting stuff. Didn't she unleash a couple of subtweets at Caitlin Clark this year when she broke a record? I thought she mentioned that she got away with a push-off or she subtweeted Caitlin Clark a couple of different times earlier in the season. And so I'm glad you just triggered my memory on that. And so, which is just furthering my narrative that at some point this year, someone pointed out to Dawn Staley, or Dawn Staley saw it herself and was getting so much messaging and was watching so many people pile on Caitlin Clark that she's like, oh boy, this is a mistake. I need to pivot off of that, particularly since I know my team's going to win because they got nobody to stop Cardoso, and we're going to crush them on the boards. And so I'm going to take the high road. But anyway,
January 2nd,
yeah.
She said, heck of a shot, but give the game ball to the ref for the shooting foul call. So.
Yes, that's, again, this is what I believe. She really, man, God is so good. He let me beat that white bitch. That's really, that's really what I think she believes.
But I do too. Again, just from a purely observational standpoint, I do think as Christians, we have an obligation. I fully agree with what you said in the opening monologue. She's given us the standard now by which we can judge her and judge ourselves, right? It's like she didn't just say, God of the universe, God's everywhere, God's everything, God's actually a she. She didn't go with she said he, and she said Jesus, and then she actually said the Bible, and she was quoting Paul, I believe, in